In this video lesson, we're going to take the photograph on the left here, this portrait, and transform it into an oil painting simulation along the lines of the picture we've made here in the right. It won't be identical, but it'll certainly be close to it, and it'll have the general atmosphere of it and many of the same features. We're going to use the Art History Brush tool, which is grouped in the Tools panel with the History Brush tool. And I'm going to be using a digital tablet today, actually a Wacom Intuos 4. I strongly recommend that you do use a digital tablet if you've got one, or if you can get hold of one, because some of the brushes are using pen controllers, and these won't work with a mouse. But do have a go if you've only got a mouse. It's certainly worth experimenting. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, let's close down the final version here, and we're going to be working on this photograph. You can get the photograph and navigate to your disk and take it from there. And we are also going to be using some custom-made art history brushes, which we can load now. And to do that, we come up to the Tools picker, top left, open up the Flair menu, come down to Load Tool Presets, then pick up here the file Portrait AHB, that's Art History Brush Tool Presets, which you'll find on your disk, and load that. And now you can see that the brushes we need are all identified here in the tool picker. As we develop the picture, we're always going to use the same starting photograph for each different styled brushstroke. This is because we want to have more control over the effects that the various styled brushstrokes have on the image. If we simply loaded it progressively, that is, we loaded the image as it was developing, taking into account the effects of the different style brushstrokes, it would quickly become unrecognizable. So if we always use the starting photograph, that is the starting photograph treated as necessary with sharpening, we will have much more control over the image that we finally get. To prepare this photo, I think all we really need to do is to add some sharpening to it. So come up to Filter on the menu bar, come down to Sharpen and Unsharp Mask, and we're going to use these settings, that is amount 72%, radius 3.1 pixels and threshold 6. The reason that we're going for quite a lot of sharpening is because some of the brushes that we're going to be using are deliberately a little soft, and the additional sharpening at the beginning helps the picture to read as it develops. So we can click OK there. I think we might just add a little bit more unsharp mask to make the eyes a little clearer. Yeah. So come back up to Filter, Sharpen and Unsharp Mask again. And I think amount 39%, radius 2.2, threshold 6. So we just add that in. Yeah, I think that's better. Now we're going to actually make the snapshot from this image, which is what we're going to use throughout our painting. Okay, so first of all, we duplicate this background layer, and then make this bottom layer live, the original background layer, and come up to the flyout menu on the right of the history panel, click New Snapshot, and down to the source is the one we're really interested in here. The various sources you could select for your art history brush. Well, we're going for current layer, okay, and that's the process we're always going to use. We're always going to go for this, go to clear the layers so they're not visible above this background layer, and always sample this background layer using the current layer process. So now you can see we've got our new snapshot. We can make this background copy layer available for working on again, and make active the snapshot we've just made. Now, to make the painting process more realistic, rather than working into this photograph, which won't feel at all like painting, we're going to fill this layer with a color, and we're going to work into that filled single color layer. So come down here to the color picker, and we're going to choose a brown, a grayish brown, somewhere around there. That's fine, and click OK. Then make sure our background copy layer is active, and choose Edit, Fill, and now we're ready to paint with our first brush. We're going to be doing the background with this first brush we're going to use. In fact, the first two brushes. So we need to be able to see where the head and the figure is in relation to the background. So make the original background image visible, come back to your background copy, the filled layer, and bring down the fill to say 67, about there. Then under view, make sure that you can see the whole image, and I'm going to come over here now to our art history brush, make that active, and we're going to use the first brush here, the AHDC Big Bristler Tight Long 236. This is a large brush, quite a bristly brush, and what we're after with this brush and with the other one we will use on the background is to loosen up a bit the background. You can see the bookcases and books are a little bit static. So what we're going to do is use these brushes to create quite an abstract background. And as to what you might paint, broadly we could probably go for the arrangement of some counter change. That is to say that we just use a smaller brush so you can see it better. Here we've got quite dark hair, and if we keep this light idea here, that will be good for making the hair area stand out a bit. Similarly, on the right hand side of the face we've got a light area where the light is falling, and if we maintain here the basic darkness on this side too, that will help to make that side of the fence read clearly. So that's an approach that we can take, and I think we will do for this one. So let's come back up to our tool picker and choose our large brush, and you can see here this is quite a whopper of a brush. And it will also immediately be apparent to you that what we're not really doing is making brush strokes at all. What I'm actually doing is placing the strokes rather than, or dabbing them rather than brushing them. Let's now bring this up to full opacity so you can see it. We'll just do this down here too, so you can see roughly where the head comes, and we've got our dark area there and a lighter area up, or a darker area up here, but on the left hand side we've got quite a nice light area, and there's a little bit of red I think here which we might try and bring in. That's fine. So that's our sort of square bristly. Now we're going to use on this, and incidentally you can see that that's at full opacity, that brush. Now we're going to use the other large brush here, which is the DC Swirl Brush Loose Curl Long, and the opacity of this is 69. Might even drop it down a bit more, and this is just to make a slightly softer, more curved shapes within this background. It's quite a gentle effect we're after. think that's fine. So let's leave that for the background now. Now we can move on to our next brush, which will bring up some face detail. Now before we can do that, we want to duplicate the layer we've just been working on to preserve it. And then, this is important, make visible again only the bottom layer in your stack. Come up again to History Panel, New Snapshot, Current Layer, OK. Make visible again the top layer and make sure that we are on the latest snapshot, snapshot 2. And now we're ready to paint with our first soft detail brush. We're going to want to see where the head is in relation to the background. So let's drop down the opacity of our active layer here a little, so we can see where the head comes. And let's come up to our tool picker and select the second from the top, which is the soft detailer tight short 34. And let's come in a little bit closer to this, to the face, so we can see a bit more detail, and start painting into it. Here we want to follow the features and try to keep to the edges of the head as far as possible. You won't be able to do it exactly, but that's fine. We can clear that up later towards the end. You'll notice here too that the opacity of this is just 30%, and you'll see the effect that that has when I bring this layer to full opacity. The reason is it makes the paint I'm putting on sit better with the paint below it. It looks slightly less pasted on. Now we'll just, so you can see what's happening here. This is the effect, and when you get more used to using the art history brushes, you'll find that you are, as we were with the large brush, dabbing quite as much as you are actually brushing. Sometimes you brush, but quite often you dab. And so what we're doing here is establishing the main areas of the face, so we know where they are. Now I'm going to here reduce the opacity again so I can see where the ears come, or ear. This is the larger of the two soft detail brushes, and the other one will again bring in more detail because of its smaller size. And here we're just gently bringing it in, following the shapes and trying not, as far as possible, to go too far over into the background area. So you can see here what that looks like. Okay, I'll carry on with this and come back to it when I've finished this layer. So here we are with that brushing completed. You can see that it does not much more really than block in where the main features are. And while some of this will be enhanced, this broad treatment, by more sophisticated layers of detail, I don't want to lose this altogether, because the the kind of plane effect, that is actually of a face molded in planes, is quite painterly. So we want to be careful that we don't completely lose that. But let's get on now with our second and smaller detail brush. Now, first of all, we need to duplicate that level that we've just made. And now make sure that, again, as we have before, that we're going to make our new snapshot again of our starting image. That's the one we first treated. So there it is. It's the only one active and the only one you can see. Come back up to the history panel, the fly out, then new snapshot. Source is current layer. OK. Come back up here, make our top layer active again, and here make sure that we've got the snapshot 3, the one we've just made, is the one that's going to be used by our brush. So to get started, let's choose our next brush. It's basically a smaller version of the one we've just used. That's the Soft Detailer Tight Short 6. And again, you'll notice that the opacity up here is just 30%. So let's go in a bit so we can see a bit of more detail where we're painting. And here, this is gently restoring detail. And as before with these brushes, there's as much dabbing as there is making long brush strokes. Now we just want to see here. You can see we're picking up some of the old background is being laid down in this brush stroke, but that's all right. That darker color, we can remove that later on. Now let's get a bit of this magnificent eyebrow. That's it. Up to where it meets the nose. And the style we've got for this is the tight short, and obviously all the styles have a different effect on the brush strokes, and there's no better way than experimentation to find the ones that work for you. So we're still not getting too much skin detail in, which is good. Now we're down to the neck, and here we can be quicker and looser with the collar of the shirt. And move over here, come out a bit. Again, you can see we've got a little bit of the background coming in, but that's not a problem. So I'm going to carry on with this, and we'll come back to it when I've finished this layer. So here we have with that layer of painting completed. can see there's a lot more detail now. We have got one more brush to introduce just additional detail here and there, mainly in areas like the eyes and other areas of high contrast. Generally speaking, in painting, hard edges are good in areas of high contrast, but not good in areas where there is little contrast or there's much the same sort of values going on side by side. And we'll get onto that in a second. But first, I'm not happy with this area here of the background, and we need to take care of that. So on the same, you can use the same layer. Choose the lasso tool, selection tool, and I'm just going to bring that down here and just isolate that area. And again, going back to the large square bristly brush we used at the very start, that one there, the big bristler, tight long, just going to as you can see, this can go on quite some time until you get a version that you like. I'm just going to try and soften that little area there down. Yeah, that'll do. So let's just deselect that. We just need to blend in using the spot healing brush. It's a very useful tool, this, for blending jobs of this sort. We could brush it in, but this is just quicker. And actually, you know, if this is a sort of issue that you find, you can have a lot of fun trying to sort it out, but that's fine for the moment. That's fine. So there we have that completed brush layer and a background that I'm happier with. So the next thing we want to do is to, as I said, bring in the very small detail. So we're going to do that with our small brush. So let's go through the process now of setting up a snapshot for that. Okay, so first of all, we're going to duplicate our background copy, or copy 3 at the top of the stack. And then make that inactive and make visible only our background layer, which is our original layer. And come up here again to the history panel, flyout menu, new snapshot, source, choose current layer, OK. Come back up here to our latest layer which we've been working on and make that active, and then come up through the history stages to snapshot 4, which is a snapshot we've just made. And so now we're ready to add in our detail. So let's come over to the tool panel, make sure our art history brush tool is selected, come up here to our list of art history brush tools, preset tools, and come to the bottom one, the fine detailer 3, and we're going to use this to bring back very fine detail. Broadly speaking, it's certainly going to go in parts of the eyes and probably around areas of the nose and mouth, and a little bit too in some of the hair towards the front and towards the side where there's some grey hair and light falling on it, and also down some of the seams in the shirt. But not the most important thing is not to use it everywhere, whatever one does. So here we are. The great thing is if you don't like it, you can always come back and have another go. You can see already that there's more detail now being picked up. Don't worry about these slight where the brush style gets too enthusiastic and goes over the edge of the contour face. We can clear that up in a moment. Right, I think that's enough on that eye. Let's see this one. Lines are quite important. Just check out that eyebrow. Yeah, I think that's enough. We don't want super detail in it. Again, this is all about patting the strokes in, just occasionally steering them with a slight brushing action. But it's very much about dabbing and patting the paint in. And as I say, not overdoing it. That's too much. Let me get rid of both of those. That's it. Mouth. Right, now let's have a look at our original mouth there. Probably want to bring in some of the highlights. So we can bring in that line of highlight across there. Bring down that mouth, make it slightly more accurate. Under the nostril. And there's a light area. Let me just see how that is. Yeah, let's just bring up that light area. But you can see that we're being very careful not to overdo it. We're not just applying it all over the image. These are high contrast eye areas here. You can see that we've got bright light on catching the edges of features, and these are set off against darker areas. Let's just pull back. Yeah. That's okay. Let's have a look at the hair now. See the original. I don't like that. Just want to give some form, some. Let's clean that up a bit, because that area of broad area is rather important to the shape of the head. Let's check the bottom of the ear. It's okay. Right. Now, around the shirt, you can't do too much damage here, so one can brush a bit more. Picking up some of the edges. These are hard edges where the light is catching. That's what we're after here. Button. Let's take that away. the lapel just a bit. I don't like that. The marvellous thing is, of course, that if you don't like something, you can always go back and do it again. So I think we're nearly there now. Bring it right over to the side. Yeah, I think that's it for that art history brush adding. So I think that's our final added detail with the art history brush. The only other brushing I want to do now is just to clean up areas where the art history brush, when we were doing features on the head and face, strayed into the background. And that can be done very easily with a soft round brush and just picking up with the color picker the relevant color in the background. So here, to do that, let's just duplicate our top layer, close down the one below it, and we don't need to make a snapshot for this because this is just going to be an ordinary brush we're going to use. So let's come over to the brushes. That's the one we're going to use, and we want to use an ordinary soft round, which we've got selected as the first one. It's a common brush, and the size is about, I think, 7 pixels or thereabout. We'll adjust it a little as we need to, but let's come in. Where should we start? Start here by the ear. Now the trick is to use quite a low opacity, because what you're trying to do is to mimic the background and just cover it up where these additional brush strokes have strayed. So here, let's choose this color here, and with an opacity of 40% is fine for this. On our top layer, just gently bring it in. Sample as frequently as you have to just cover up colours you don't want. Here we've got another one here. The secret with this is just not to rush it. Now here I'm going to reduce the opacity even more. And I think that's enough for our purposes here. And we can see this one we've got down here. Get rid of that. That's a good sample colour to use, I think. Increase the opacity a bit. And this is really very straightforward to do this. And here, a bit of the corner. Let's just bring a little bit of that darker colour here. And here, yeah, you can see we've got to get rid of quite a lot here. So hair is always a little bit tricky. Just see where that comes. Just take nice gentle strokes. blend this in bit by bit, picking up colour here and there as we need to. Okay, let's come back to this when I've finished this stage. Well, that's all our painting done, all our brushing. Now there's just a couple of tweaks I'd like to make to this to finish the picture off. First of all, let's duplicate our top layer. And now we need to sharpen again. Back up to the filter sharpen unsharp mask. We don't want to overdo it. Always check for the white halos that are a giveaway if the things are over sharpened. Yeah, that's okay. So it's the amount 71%, radius 2.2 and threshold 6. And okay for that. And now finally we're going to add some canvas to it, a canvas texture. And to do that, bring the pattern stamp tool into operation, which the pattern stamp tool is just below, just above the art history brush. So make sure that it's active. It's on the left, and come up then to the pattern picker, and these are default patterns in here. And to load the ones that we're interested in, come up to the flyout menu and come down to Artist Surfaces. Click OK, and the one we're going to be interested in is Canvas, but we're going to actually do it as a pattern fill layer. So come down here to the bottom of your layer stack, click on the Create New Fill or Adjustment layer, come up to Pattern, then here select Canvas, and on the scale adjust it to 146. What we're trying to do is make sure that the canvas weave is in scale with the portrait, and that's about right. And come down here and we can try color burn at 100%. Let's just and let's bring that to it. I think we might try linear burn and less of it. So 38. And let's duplicate our background layer, the top one. That's copy 6 we're duplicating. And we're just going to add a little contrast to it, to the image. So that's additional contrast. That's image adjustments, brightness contrast 17. And let's see if it could cope with a little bit more sharpening. That's too much. Let's try that. That's an amount 49%, radius 1.1, threshold 6. That's better. It just makes it read a little bit better. And that's it. That's our picture finished. We open up now the original image that we had, which is actually not available now, and we have to do that to see it. So that was our starting image, and this is where we've got to. And that's it.